Hey everybody, it's Rob here at etrailer.com, and today we're going to be taking a look at the eTrailer Class 3 custom fit trailer hitch receiver on our 2017 Buick Enclave. Now that's what I really like about our eTrailer hitch, is it's actually installed already because on our Enclave we have this removable panel. So if we come down to the bottom, we've got a couple turn knobs, we'll just give them a quarter turn, then we can pull that panel out. Then we can have access to our hitch whenever we do want to use it, but again, we can have that clean, sleek look whenever we don't want to use it. Now since the hitch is a Class 3, it's going to give us that 2" by 2" receiver tube opening and have the widest variety of options that we can mount up and use. Now obviously everybody knows you can put a ball mount in there to a trailer, but a lot of us want to use it for a couple different things. We can put a bike rack in here, take some friends or family to the park with us and take a bike ride, or put a cargo carrier back here and make some more room inside by moving all that gear to the outside. But regardless of how you want to use your hitch, all the accessories are going to mount through the hitch pin hole here on the side. Now the hitch is going to accept a standard 5/8 pin and clip. Now these are not going to come with the hitch, but you can find them here at etrailer.com, along with some locking devices to make sure your accessories are secure, and anti-rattle devices so we cut down on that annoying rattling sound coming from the back of the receiver tube. Now if you are going to be doing some towing, whether that's a small utility trailer, a water sport carrier, or any other kind of trailer, you have to have a spot to hook up your safety chains. And we have a loop plate style welded to the bottom of the receiver tube here. And if you have what I consider most normal size hooks, there's plenty of room to get them hooked on, take them off, and really don't have to worry about any kind of interference or potential of actually coming in contact with our Buick because it is set rather low below the bumper. Now if you have really large oversized hooks like these, there's still a bunch of room to get them in place. Again, really not having to worry about any kind of interference, and we shouldn't really have to struggle to get them in place either. Now if you're looking for a hitch for your Enclave, you obviously have something in mind you want to do, so the weight capacities are going to be pretty important because we want to make sure that our hitch is up to the task that we put it to. So our hitch here is going to have a 500-pound tongue weight. That's the maximum downward pressure at the end of the receiver tube. To put that in perspective, we'll be able to carry a really good amount of gear on a cargo carrier, or be able to carry 4, 5, maybe even 6 bikes with us on a bike rack. Now at the same time, our hitch is also going to have a 5,000-pound gross trailer weight rating. That's how much the hitch can pull, but that does include the trailer and the load we have on it. Now I know a lot of people at home do have weight distribution systems set up on their trailer, and our hitch is compatible with those as well. Now it's going to bump the tongue weight up to 600 pounds and the gross trailer weight rating up to 6,000 pounds. But with all those numbers in mind, I really do urge you to double check your Enclave's owner's manual, because those are the ratings for our hitch and we don't want to exceed the manufacturer's rating for our Buick. Now I'd like to give you a few measurements, and these are going to help you whenever you're looking for accessories for your new hitch. From the center of the hitch pin hole to the outermost edge of the bumper is going to be right about 5 inches. Now that measurement is going to come in handy when you're looking at folding accessories to make sure you have enough room to put them in the upright stored position and not make contact with the rear bumper. Now from the ground to the inside top edge of the receiver tube opening is going to be right about 19 inches. Now that measurement is definitely going to help you when you're looking for a ball mount, so you can find the appropriate rise or drop to match up to your trailer. But now that we've seen what the hitch looks like and gone over some of the features, let's bring it into the shop and go through the installation process together. To start our installation, we want to come to the back of our Buick, and right at the bottom of the fascia here, we're going to have this removable panel. There's a couple twist knob fasteners, just quarter turn. You can turn them counterclockwise, unlock them. Maybe a little bit tight depending on if there's a little bit of dirt or debris stuck in there. But once you have them unlocked, you can pull that panel down, and we'll go ahead and set this aside. Our next step is going to be lowering our exhaust down, but you do want to make sure that it's supported and that it's not going to come down too far. So I'm going to put a support strap up. Just want to find a solid point on the frame, and then I'll tighten that strap up so there's a little bit of support underneath it. But if we come to where our mufflers are, and if we come to the outside and the inside of the frame mount right here, we're going to have an exhaust hanger. When we move to the other side, we're going to have another one in the same location. Now the main goal is to get the rubber isolator off the hanger. So I'm just going to spray them down with some spray lubricant, just make it a little bit easier to slide. And then you can take a pry bar. You just want to find something to pry against. Typically you can just go to up higher on that hanger. There's a spot you can use to pry against, and just slide that isolator off. Now again, we're going to have one on the inside of the frame and one on the outside of the frame that's going to be a little bit hard to see on each side. So we're going to loosen all of those up so we can allow our exhaust to come down. Now once you have the exhaust lowered, you will notice it's only going to come down maybe an inch or two, but that should give us plenty of room to get the hitch in place. So if we come over to the frame rail on the bottom side, it's going to be the same mounting locations on both sides, but we're going to have two threaded holes right here at the bottom of the frame. Those are going to be the weld nuts that we're going to use to mount the hitch up. So we're going to take a little bit of spray lubricant. I like to spray them inside the weld nuts just so we can make sure there's not a bunch of debris or rust. Then I'm going to come back with a tube brush to clean it all out. Now I recommend doing that for all the mounting locations, so the two over here and the two on the other side, so we can avoid any kind of cross-threading or complications when we go to put the hardware in. And once you have them cleaned out, it's not a bad idea to grab one of the bolts from your kit. Make sure you can easily thread it in by hand, doesn't bind up, and that it's not full of a bunch of debris inside the weld nut. So we'll go ahead and clean the rest of the weld nuts and double check them all with one of the bolts. So we're going to have two more mounting locations at the very back of our bumper. If we look up from the bottom, we'll find two round holes and two larger square holes. The two round holes are going to be our two mounting locations, and you may or may not have weld nuts built into the bumper structure. If you do, you're going to use the same hardware as the side frame rails to mount the hitch up. But since we don't have any weld nuts in our frame, we're going to have to use a carriage bolt and block. So we want to grab one of the pull wires out of our kit. We'll take the coiled end, and we're going to feed it into the mounting hole. Now, this is an extremely long pull wire because we want to feed it all the way to one side of the frame, and it'll actually come out the end of the bumper. So again, it's pretty long, so we're going to feed it over to, in this case, the driver's side, and the coiled end is going to come out right at the end of the frame here. Now one trick to these is you want to make sure that you have the coiled end sticking out of the frame and the tail end on the other side still on the outside of the frame. We don't want that wire to fall in. We'll grab one of our square hole spacer blocks. We're going to slide it over the end of our wire. You're going to push it into the edge of the frame. And we're going to grab one of our carriage bolts and we'll thread it onto the end of the wire. And then again, we'll push that into the frame. And we can grab the tail end, start pulling it down until we can get that bolt to drop down through and go through the block and come out the hole. Now, I always like to leave the pull wires attached because when we go to lift our hitch up, if we accidentally push them back into the frame, we can just grab them and pull them back down. So we're going to go ahead and repeat that process for the other frame, the other mounting location on this side, and then we can get ready to put the hitch up. Now with extra hands, we're going to lift our hitch up. Kind of want to go at an angle to get one end in, and then we can sneak the other end in. Then we want to take our pull wires and go from the top of the hitch and go down through the mounting holes. Once we have the hitch raised up, we'll grab one of those new bolts out of our kit along with a conical tooth washer. There's little teeth on there. You want to make sure those are facing up. We'll go through our hitch, and you want to get at least one bolt in on each side. That way it'll support the hitch and we can work on getting the rest of the hardware out. Once we have all the hardware in the side frame plates, we're going to kind of lift up a little bit on the hitch, and we're going to remove the pull wire. We want to grab a flange nut out of our kit and very carefully get that nut started on the bolt. Try to not push it back in the frame because it will be rather difficult to get it out. But that's going to be the same combination for the other bolts on the other side, so we'll get that one in place as well. Then we want to come back with a 19mm socket and tighten up all the hardware. Now you want to make sure you come back with a torque wrench and torque all the hardware down to the specified amount in the instructions. I'm going to go back and repeat that for all of our remaining hardware. With the hitch all torqued down, I'm going to spray a little bit more lubricant on those rubber isolators and hangers. We can lift our exhaust up and just make it a little bit easier for them to slide back in place. Just go through and put them all back on. And once you have your exhaust back up, you can remove whatever kind of support device you were using to hold it up. And unless you're going to be using your hitch, we do have the option of putting that appearance panel back in place. We'll just close down the turn knobs. We can have a really clean look on the back of our Buick, and no one will even know that we have a hitch. But that'll finish up your look and installation of the eTrailer Class 3 Custom Fit Trailer Hitch Receiver on our 2017 Buick Enclave.